It's All-Star Weekend, and one of the things that have been on my mind is the fact that Buzelis is the only player to represent the Chicago Bulls in all of All-Star Weekend, which then led me to naturally think, how far are we really to having any type of answers and really getting to a place of real relevancy for the Chicago Bulls? We're going to talk a little bit about that today, and then we're going to talk about and dive into the mailbag. All that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so I want to start this episode off by asking a question of y'all. I know it's Mailbag Day, and usually that means me answering questions, and we'll get to that here when we get into the mailbag section. But I want to ask you, right? How far away do you think this Chicago Bulls team is? Meaning, when you look at this team and you think about the assets, taking everything into consideration, the assets, the future salary cap space, all that type of stuff, how far do you think the Bulls really are from being let's say a playoff team, right? Let's not the play-in, playoffs, meaning that top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. How far away do you truly feel they are, right? Because I think the answer to that question is an important one, right? And it's an important one in looking at the direction overall of this team as well. When you're talking about it is, all right, how far away are you? How much do you really need to get to that? And before, listen, I love it when I ask a question and people respond with, oh, well, it's really hard to answer that because we don't know what are we going to be picking over the next. That's the whole point of the question. Is to cause you to think, to give your own opinion. You know how easy it is to answer a question if you already have those answers? The point is to think. Critical thinking, that is the point. Every time, there's always a handful of people. Every time that there's a question, well, we really can't answer that question because we don't know where the lottery pick is going to be. So how can we think, and then even say that, well, if we get a top 5, I think this. If we can get a think. Why is that so hard for some people? Nonetheless, right? When you look at this team and you look at it, one of the things that the Bulls did get, right? The only bit of clarity that we really got out of the Zach LaVine trade is we knew where the state of the roster was going to be. We were already a bad team before Zach LaVine and before that trade, but it also made our draft picks clear. We have all of our own first round picks now, from now until whenever we decide to trade another one, right? And the Portland pick, I know a lot of people have been asking, well, what's the chances we get the Portland pick? Keep in mind, the Portland pick isn't if they're just, at a certain level. It's that they have to make the playoffs for us to get the Portland pick. So that's probably not going to happen. If it does, great. It'll be an amazing surprise. But it gets back to, all right, so they cleared their any draft picks owned and that were allocated. So we got all of our own draft picks. Our cap sheet is getting clear. It's not clear as of yet, right? But it's getting clearer. And that's the thing that you look at, right, as far as when it comes down to it. Next year, we're going to have $60 million beneath the first tax apron, maybe even more, depending on what we do with certain cap holds, things like that. But it's really that 2026 summer that we're really going to have tons of flexibility. But then again, the Bulls have never really been big free agent destinations, but cap space doesn't always have to be used to be a free agent destination. It can be used to absorb some salary of a player that needs or requests or wants to get out of the team that they're currently in. So there's other places and ways and avenues you can use that also. So that's what you're looking at. But I think for me, when it comes down to it, I'm looking at the competency of what we have that's leading this franchise. And that's where the biggest question is, because you can have a top 5 pick, but if you have dumbasses using the draft picks, it's not going to get you anywhere, right? You can have really players with really great potential, but if you don't have the proper environment and coaching to develop those guys, you may never really know what you have in some of those guys. That's why we've seen other guys really go out and kind of blossom elsewhere. We've never really seen anybody go out and become a star elsewhere. Somebody said that before, and I'm like, really the closest thing to that, Jimmy, right? But most of the time when players leave us, like You look at even Gafford, that's definitely not a star. He's a damn good player, make no mistake about it. Wendell is still Wendell, who he is. Bobby had some good years, especially with that Milwaukee Bucks team being a contributor to winning a title, right? But it's never like we've seen somebody that we just saw nothing in that didn't develop into this star. Maybe you can say somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie, right, who we had in here, but then again, he was never even on a guaranteed deal, right? So there's that aspect of it, right? But even with that said, if you don't have the proper guys to guide the development, no matter what talent you get in here, there's always going to be some questions about it, right? And so in looking at this, and then even when you default and look at the roster, right, we got some solid players on this roster. I said it before, we got talent on this roster. Coby's a talented player. He has some big flaws, but he's a talented player, right? Ayo, very talented two-way player. But again, he's not the caliber of player you can build a team around. You just can't. You're not going to do. He hasn't shown that as of yet. We got a promising player in Modest Buzelis. Love Modest, right? He's still scratching the surface of who and what he can be. We'll see how that turns out and what that develops into. And then we got guys like Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, who at this point, it's really hard to kind of make a conversation for those guys. We got Josh Giddey, 22 years old, who you know what he is, right? For the most part, like he has some pretty big limitations himself, but you know who and what he is basically as a player, right? He still has definitely growth that he can do at 22 years old. He got tons of growth that he can left to do, but you know you're still looking at that, right? And then God forbid that the roster construction, because we still don't have the roster that really, the pieces don't fit together well, right? So when people have conversations and try to, say stuff like, well, he doesn't really fit this thing. We don't know what the fit is because we don't have pieces that fit. So we really can't say that either, right? But I think the part of the frustration that I hold for this franchise is that I don't have faith in it. I don't have faith in any level of leadership. If you've been watching the show for a while, me saying that shouldn't surprise you. We don't have an ownership group that is going to put winning above any and everything, right? Like, I get it that the Reinsdorfs are hands-off in the day-to-day. They do leave that up to AK and Eversley to really run. But at the same time with that, even in looking at that, if we had an ownership group that we just knew that we could honestly say, hey, this group is going to everything is going to be built around winning. If we're not winning, we're going to move on from players and head coaches, and we're going to get some guys in there that we feel confident are going to be able to get us to win. We don't have that either, right? And we know the thing that this ownership group is motivated by, and that's made clearer and clearer every day, especially with now the evaluation that's come out of teams. The Bulls are the fourth richest team in the NBA. We make more money than only 3 teams in the league make more money than the Chicago Bulls. When you look at it, the Golden State Warriors, $9.4 billion. The New York Knicks, $7.5 billion. The Los Angeles Lakers, $7 billion. And then you got the Chicago Bulls right there at $5.8 billion. The Houston Rockets and Brooklyn Nets are below them. So they're making money. It is what it is. We're the 4th most valuable franchise in the NBA, in our league. So, we generate roughly $402 million in revenue during the 2023-24 season. I can't wait to see what that looks like at the end of this season. But we don't have that group that just we think or can believe that they're going to do everything it takes to win basketball. And so it comes down to luck, right? And that's the thing that is most concerning about it, because so much about this team comes down to luck. Jerry Krause didn't just rely on luck until the end of that, where he just wanted it to be about him after not making it about him for so long. But he was somebody that put winning above all. And when people say things like, we'll never win with the Reinsdorfs owning this, that's not necessarily true. But you're going to have somebody that not only in running the team is smart, that cares about winning more than anything, and is willing to make tough moves and make smart moves. That's what you need, right? And to ask the question if AK and Eversley are the ones that are going to bring that, hell no, I don't think that they're going to bring that as it stands right now. Maybe things start changing now that they are more towards the direction. But then again, it's still so much doubt around that. So in the question that I'm asking you guys, again, how far do you think the Bulls are away from being a playoff team? Modest Buzelis development, let's say we actually hit on the draft pick this year, maybe we get closer to that, right? Maybe we're saying, as of right now, maybe by the end of the next season, we're looking at it and saying, hey, no, we got 2 guys in here that are really damn good, and we got some complementary players around them. Let's keep drilling this thing home. Maybe we're saying that. But as it stands right now, this Bulls team is so far away. I don't care that they're 10th seed in the play-in. That's not mid. That's not middle of the pack. That's literally sitting in a place where you're at the bottom, right? Somebody left a comment the other day. It's like, hey, I'm glad that more Bulls fans aren't celebrating the play-in because a few years ago, it wouldn't be anything. We're fighting over scraps. That's what the Bulls are doing right now. They're fighting over scraps. They're the king of the scrap yard. And that's not right. We ain't even really kings of that. So, I mean, we ain't even ever made it out the play-in. If we're talking about any kings of that, maybe we're talking about the Miami Heat, right? If they're when you look at how they've come out the play-in the last few years. But other than that, man, hey, it's difficult right now. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. How far away, how long do you think it's going to take with what we know right now and based off what could happen in the future based on our draft picks? We own all that. We have some cap space. Do you think that this thing could turn around sooner rather than later? Or do you think this is going to be a thing that we're talking about this same level of team for the next 4-5 years? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. All right, let's get into the mailbag portion for the day. The first voicemail that we got is from DK2K. Y'all killing me with the name. I get it, I use Hayes, but like when y'all get into I'm Pitbull. Like what are we doing here? But this one's from DK Nitro.
Hey, Hayes. This is DJ 2K Nitro. First time calling in. I had a moment, so I just wanted to, say a few things. Since the trade deadline just passed, just want to speak on a little bit about AK. Man, we got bamboozled, we got hoodwinked, we got led astray, man. He is not who everybody hyped him up to be, in my opinion. I mean, I think the first deal that he made for the Vooch trade was just an outlier in terms of his credentials, in my opinion. Actually, it's not an outlier, but it's actually who he is, because he's terrible at trading. I remember, God rest their soul, guard packs, they would make trades that at least would be even. At least you would feel like, okay, if we didn't win, at least we were even on the deal. But he just makes trades that are just terrible. Like, it's just, for us, it's terrible. There's no win, like, feeling you get when he makes a trade. Like, I never liked the Vucevic trade. I thought we overpaid for that. And then the DeMar trade was also an overpay in a lot of ways, given he's the only GM that, or one of the few GMs that's traded a first-round pick for a sign-and trade guy. I mean, I just, all those things you just question, and I still don't like the fact that he did not trade Vucevic for something, and that even goes back to last year. He did not trade Drummond for something. I want to see the young guys play, man. Like, let's get Jalen in there. Let's get where's Sanogo? Where's he at? I don't know what happened to him. Let's get him out there. I mean, we traded for a center in Collins. Let them play. I mean, just flip these guys. We don't need to hold on to guys too long, but I think nobody respects AK. So I think based on his previous deals, everybody feels they could take advantage of him. And I don't know if that's AK understanding it also and trying to, reclaim some dominance over, gain some respect from other GMs or something. I don't know, but not always being bullied into taking a bad deal. But he has to do something. I mean, it's come to a point where he just can't trade nobody. He has to try his best to just develop homegrown guys and just do it like that and not even trade with anybody, because if everybody's going to always expect him to take a BS deal, I mean, at some point, if you're in this position, you should know this is happening and then not, just deal with anybody and just, do your own thing and develop your own talent, which I'm cool with. We have 2 draft picks this year and we have somewhat of trading assets that, I mentioned not trading, but if you're going to trade, you have players that you should at least get some type of draft capital for that's decent.
AK's history, I mean, when you look at AK's history, not just in trades, but in deals, like he's done some good ones. The Alex Caruso deal was a good deal, not the trade. I'm talking about the contract that they initially signed him to. Coby and Io's contract extensions were really solid extensions. Even Nikola Vucevic's $20 million contract extension isn't terrible. Jalen Smith's contract is really decent per what he puts up per minute production. He probably needs to play more minutes. But then you look at some of the other deals. What we gave up in the sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan, right? The contract extension to Zach LaVine. And then, immediately basically regretting that, right? The trade for Nikola Vucevic, right? Those type of things. The trade for the Alex Caruso trade, getting Josh Giddey back. So there's the Zach LaVine trade of this year. So there are definitely some history with AK to where it's hugely concerning on what he's going to be able to do going forward. Now, one of the things that you mentioned is not trading Vooch at this trade deadline. I'm not going to judge that right now. I'm not of the mindset that a lot of people are where we got to trade everybody now. But I am going to see what you do with it in this offseason, because if you turn around and trade Vooch this offseason, which we have heard that there's some groundwork done on trades that can go down this offseason, and a team can absorb more of his contract and you're not really even taking the $20 million back, but you're getting an asset, that would reframe how I view that. As of right now, it's incomplete because I think everybody sees the writing on the wall. You got to move Vooch, but you haven't done it yet. So we'll see what I'm holding out. I'm holding out full judgment for that. It's questionable right now, but I'm holding out full judgment, right? But the thing that you ended on, the teams feel like they can take advantage of AK. I fully believe that teams feel like they can wait out AK because he's going to make a decision just to make a decision. And that's not a good place to be for your front office. And we'll see. Hopefully that changes. Maybe it changes. We'll see. But all right, let's get into the next one, man. This one's from the 915.
Hey, what's going on, Hayes? Big Chicago Bull fan here. Hey, I just wanted to get your opinion on next season. I mean, there's so much to unpack, but what do you think needs to happen with AK? Do you think that we need to let him go? We need to let Billy Donovan go? And also, do you think we need to trade Patrick Williams? Who do we need to sign in the offseason? And what trades do you anticipate? Because right now, we're looking super lackluster. I mean, we're lucky if we make the play-in tournament. So what do you think needs to happen between now and April when the regular season is over, assuming that we don't make the play-in, because I don't think we will? What moves do you think the Bulls have to make? Sorry for the long question.
Listen, this was left, I think, before we got word that the front office and Billy Donovan are safe. So, that is what it is. Now, the Billy Donovan being safe thing, it doesn't surprise me all the way because he only has 1 year left on his deal. So they may very well look at it and say 1 year. But like I said, even in that episode, the one thing that concerns me with is, are we wasting a couple of years of development for Modest and then maybe 1 year of development for the guy that we draft in the lottery this year, right? So that's a question there. Who will we sign? Nobody. Like, the Bulls have never been a free agent destination. I'm not going to think that we're all of a sudden going to become a free agent destination. So I don't think it's necessarily who we sign, but it's how we use that cap space. Do we use it to absorb some money and get some picks back, right? That what other teams have done of how you stack draft assets. Things are done in the way that they're done for a reason, right? You take back some bad salary, you can stack assets. So what's going to happen with that, right? So we'll see what happens, man. As far as not making the play-in, listen, it is what it is. I don't really care about making the play-in or not. It's neither here nor thing for me. I don't see the Bulls making it out the play-in, even if they were. And I think that the Bulls, yes, I want them to try to go out and win every game because I think that's how you build the right thought process. You want to go out there and compete. There's not a single coach in the league that's going to tell you he's coming in trying to lose games. There's not a single player in the league that's going to tell you they're out there in the court trying to lose games for lottery odds, right? But I think at the same time, and if AK is really kind of focused on still trying to make the play-in, he's getting caught in the weeds of that's not what the play-in is for. The play-in was created for the teams that did have a chance. Maybe they did have an injury. Maybe they did, come on late. Let's see if you can get in the playoffs. Let's make it a little bit interesting. It's not built to make you think that, we're just right there because we made the play-in, and that's the trap that AK has fallen in seemingly over the last few years. We'll see what the future holds. Let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Mello.
What up, Paige? This is Mello, bro. I'm sitting here watching this annihilation that we're getting right now from the Pistons, but it's not surprising to me. This was expected when we traded Dak. Once Dak was gone, I was like, okay, they're tanking without really tanking. They can say, we want to be competitive or whatever the case may be, but it's damn near impossible with the roster. Modest has been, a good thing since the trade has happened with his play, but everybody else has sucked. Like, everybody else is just played bad. When you have a guy that's averaging 24, 25 a game and you're still losing, you thought it was going to get better. And I'm watching the game, but I'm also on the Bleacher app looking at all the Bulls fans complain. And they're saying how AK sucks and he needs to go and everything. But he literally just gave them what they wanted, which was a tank. They wanted to tank. It sounded good, but it doesn't look good. And everybody's saying all of these things. But the one thing I can say concerning this is watching this game, Billy Donovan really needs to get fired. I'm not for people losing their jobs, but he needs to go because this team right now, as I watch this game, is 0 for 18 from three-point land. When are you going to tell these guys to stop shooting threes? It just doesn't make any sense. He panics. Modest isn't getting any minutes. Then you see Julian Phillips come in the game, and then he's putting Zach Collins in the game. There's no rhyme or reason to anything he does. So no matter who they get in this draft coming up, If he's still the coach next year, it's going to be horrible, bro. It's going to be horrible. This guy cannot coach in the NBA. He needs to go back to college. He couldn't do it with KD and Russ in their prime. He can't do it with this team. He can't do a rebuild. He's a horrible coach. He just needs to go. That's just my thoughts on it, bro. Still see red. Have a good one.
Losing was expected after we traded Zach. That is correct. But the lack of heart shown is the biggest concern. I said it before. The season was going to be rough. We weren't going to win a lot of games this season. Losing isn't the surprising part. But not showing any heart is a big concern for this team, right? And so that's what it came down to, especially for that first Detroit loss, is the lack of heart shown from that team. Now, in the second game, Io came out and shown some heart. Vooch woke up a little bit, right? So, that, maybe if we're looking at some promising things, those are the things to look at, but still some big concerns there as well. Now, as far as the threes, right? We can't stop shooting threes because we have no half-court offense. And that goes back to Billy Donovan. We have to stop. It can't just be threes, right? You have to actually have some sets, some off-ball actions. We got to get those things worked in here. We don't have them, and thus our offense is always going to stagnate. There's no way around that. And so we got to get that together. Hope that is going to happen. We'll see. Let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald. Just calling after that ass whooping the Bulls got Detroit last night. I can't say that was definitely more like predictable, but this is what it looks like to have Billy Donovan as a coach. He can't lean on Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. I mean, him without at least a star level offensive player who can create on their own, it just looks graceful. It looks terrible. It looks like he doesn't even deserve to be in the NBA. And I know you said that he's an average, maybe slightly above average NBA coach, but just looking at the results of his career, like I said, you take away the stars, and he's really not. You can't trust him with play calling. You can't trust him with player development. And if you're going to go younger, there's no way you can have him as your head coach. But like you also said, Jerry's not going to fire him because he's comfortable with him. And that pretty much sums up that he's going to be here this year no matter how many 40-point losses the Bulls have, and he's probably here next year. And I don't trust him to put the young guys out there. Got to sit Bruce down for the week, bring up the Nuggo, let him get some minutes. I'm not really playing John Collins because I know he's not going to be here beyond next year. And I definitely wouldn't play Javon Carter either. That's for what? If anything, I would have bought him out, but they're not going to do that, even though they're not going to be able to move off of him. It's just the front office that's a mess. The coaching staff, the head coach that's a mess. Just a roster poorly constructed. It's just one disaster after another. I'm glad I'm not the one who was watch on that. Patrick Riley guy. Just is what it is. Thanks for letting me back. Have a good one.
I'm going to focus on one question that you asked there. You take away stars, who and what is Billy Donovan? And that's the thing there, right? It's very different in college than it is in the NBA. Billy Donovan, when he doesn't have stars, when he doesn't have Zach, when he doesn't have DeMar, when he doesn't have KD, when he doesn't have Russ, when he doesn't have Paul George, when he doesn't have Chris Paul, when you don't have players of that caliber, what is Billy Donovan as a coach? And what we're seeing is that he's not a good one, right? He's not a good one in those situations. If you give him some stars, Billy Donovan is a semi-competent coach. But when you talk about a coach that's going to coach somebody up, that's going to try to take the most out of it and do some creative things, Billy Donovan just is not that guy. He's never been that guy. I don't expect him to all of a sudden become that guy. It's unfortunate, but that's the situation that we're in. And that's the coach that this front office, that this ownership group has attached themselves to. And that's hugely concerning, especially when we're trying to develop players. So when it all said and done, who is Billy Donovan without stars? We're seeing who Billy Donovan is without stars. We're seeing it. And that's a one-trick pony that can coach a team to do something specific, but then anything other than that, we're not going to get it. We came in with a mandate of pace and three-point shooting. We do that. We don't do it overly effective anymore. We started off the season being effective. Teams have adjusted, and now we don't have anything else in our toolbox other than that. And that's what leads to the frustration place that the Bulls are in. So it is what it is there. All right, let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Shay.
What's up, guys? Look, man, I know people are so excited Montes Buzelis making a Rising Stars All-Star selection team, but I don't like it in a way. The reason why I don't really like it is because Billy Donovan thinks he's doing a good job with me, and he's gonna use this as I'm developing him the right way, or I'm making the right decisions with him early on and currently when he's really not. Now I know that doesn't make any sense to a lot of people, but I think Billy Donovan is going to use this Montes Buzelis making the Rising Stars thing as all I need to continue doing what I'm doing, giving him less minutes and all that like he's currently doing right now, and I don't think that it will wake him up to do the common sense thing with him, which is to increase his minutes and actually try to develop him. Now, I know you may not understand, but that's just my thought on Montes making this All-Star game. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
I'm just going to say this. If Billy Donovan thinks that Montes Buzelis making the Rising Stars challenge means that he's developing Montes right, he's a bigger idiot than I think. That's just what I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it right there. If Billy Donovan is truly sitting there saying, hey, he made the Rising Stars, they called him in as an injury replacement, that means I'm doing right by my development process with him, he's a fucking idiot. And he doesn't deserve to be a head coach if that's really what he thinks, right? I don't think NBA coaches really look at that as much as fans do personally. I don't think franchises should. But then again, I can't put anything past this franchise or Billy Donovan to save my life. So who knows what the hell they view it as. I guess we'll see and how they react and what they do with Montes long term. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below, man. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.